time we switch pod. The boys are back. How are you, Chris?
Good as that's how I am today, look, I'm good. I'm good, Kodas. How you doing, bro?
Good myself, good myself. The Dan Carters of podcasting here to give you
Mm-hmm.
our
Mm-hmm.
opinions, our flagrant takes, and of course, feel free to leave your own comments. Feel free to have
Yeah.
your own takes. Tell us if we're wrong, tell us if we're right, and subscribe as well. We're trying to get those numbers up. Yeah,
Yeah, please.
Origin Week. Origin Week,
Mm.
big week. SA derbies and the results. Both our sides coming out
Ah, ah.
victorious.
Yeah, I should have said, hey, better Beth, get in on this action. Put some pounds on there, man. Come on, bro, But look, it's the result we both wanted. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm happy, man. I'm happy.
Yeah, you said I must back the boys and you never led me astray. You never led me astray. I think let's start with that game. I think that was I mean there's statements in both games, but I think that was the biggest statement of the two, the Bulls versus the Sharks.
Yeah,
Sharks coming in, team sheets, big name there for me. Well, to me it's a big name. Mavesere, driller starts.
yeah.
Kolisi, obviously he's on Bok leave, Fenter's injured. And it just
Mm.
shows it's always going to be tough for him behind two players like that. And then they can obviously also move Pepsi to six. But it's
Yeah.
good that he's getting game time, and that just seeing that name, it foreshadowed what happened, the performance that he put in.
Mm.
Bulls team coming in, no Hanukom. Vili
Mm.
retained at 10. They're having their own little fly half crisis there. And another interesting thing was Ludwig was captain. I don't know
Yeah.
why.
I
I don't know.
also I was surprised, eh?
Yeah, I think the guy's like 22, and there's guys there that have been captains before that have been in leadership roles. So I guess that's something that they see in him. But I mean, ultimately, looking back at it, it'll be a lesson learned for him.
Yeah. Yeah, it will be. And I think Jake White, he's always liked, to give some young guys a chance, to be in leadership positions. So
Yeah,
yeah, maybe it's a bit of that. But look, for me, the Sharks team, I mean, if you look at some of the big name players out, the number of injuries that they've had, but also just I think you're starting to see their character, and
yeah,
they really wanted this one. They were desperate, defensively. I think they understood their assignment. It was a big game, and a guy like Mavesera, getting a chance and showing that okay, give him a chance. He can play, and I think it's a lesson for some of the other guys as well. Is that yeah, you may not get many opportunities, but when you do, you've got to take it, make an impact, make a difference, and he certainly did. Along with other guys, members of that Sharks team. But the Bulls, at the end of the day, they can kick themselves, for also, I mean, being wasteful. They also at home, they failed to
yeah.
execute when they had the Sharks under pressure. A lot of the things, but as it goes, if you give it, you gotta. If you get the opportunities, you get in those positions, you gotta take them. And the Sharks did that, and they did that very well.
Yeah, when I look back at it, the way that the Sharks managed the game and
Mm.
leaned on their strengths, especially when it came to transition play and turnovers
Yeah,
and giving the ball some air, it was you they couldn't have done it better than what they did. You're talking three
yeah,
yellow cards. It's
mm.
criminal what the Bulls did. That 2 points. Watching and they're 2 points ahead at that time. You're just like this is criminal. You should have pulled away further than this. And
yeah,
again, that's also a strength of the Sharks team where they didn't let the lead grow too much. They were always
yeah.
within touching distance, and then once they got in the lead, then they broke away. So, like you said, character players showing up, and it's to me it was a complete performance in terms of an away team who you're under pressure at the scrums. You're under
Yes.
pressure with the maul.
Mm.
So, you know, what the other things that you can rely on in your strengths, they job well done, Plum. Job
Yeah.
well done.
Yeah, look, but one thing must be said. The Sharks forwards coach and scrum coach. I know that person is on fraud watch. Because you can't have stacked guys like this, and there's something not quite right there in terms of the pack synergy when it comes to
Yeah.
to those aspects, when it comes to the scrumming and mauling, you
But the
can't have
thing is,
that.
the Bulls scrum has been doing this to everybody the whole season. So I can't be too harsh on them for, let's say, the scrum aspect. The maul, yes, I'm with you when it comes to the maul, because
Yeah.
that caused yellow cards, that caused problems, that caused tries even.
Yeah, yeah, but still, quarters. Even though the Shark Scrum has been under fire for a while now. Where it hasn't been
Yeah,
performing at its best. So yes, the Bulls have been doing that. To a lot of teams, but you'd certainly expect better. But nonetheless, they still got the result. The Sharks, they, like you said, they relied on their strengths. They understood the weapons that they had, and their
yeah,
weaponry was definitely in the back line. And then also once they started, pulling away how everybody now was just gelling together, the link up between backs and forwards. I think the kicking game as well, especially the aerial contest. I think from that first one, that very first one where Penguin won that over Sergio Peterson, I think that made a big statement, considering
yeah,
the start, and what I liked is the Bulls got that start. They got that try where it looked like physically they were just looking like they were going to overwhelm the Sharks, and then Sharks first phase hit them hard and score wide. And once they did that, I knew then that that 7-0, this game is there for the taking for the
yeah.
Sharks. For me it was just a matter of how it's going to happen. And I certainly thought it was going to be by less in terms of the score, by in terms of the scorecard. But yeah, man, yeah, yeah. You underestimate at your own peril, and rumor has it, all this rain in Joburg and Gauteng, still the Bulls fans' tears, So I believe you're gonna have these for a few more days, So that's what it is, man.
Yeah, you
Look,
you spoke about the high ball. Even for the try, I think Hendricks's try, it was a box
mm,
kick from Grant Williams, and then it was
yes,
contested. Moody's normally good in the air, but Ethan Hooker disrupting him,
wow,
ball comes, and then
wow.
it's that just sums up the Sharks and what they were trying to do.
Easily another candidate for man of the match because a lot of his defensive plays, the chasing and the tackles that he's able to make, in the 22, putting that pressure on, it easily puts him up there with the contender for man of the match, But yeah, like we mentioned earlier, Mavesere came in, he came in big, he had a big effect, where guys like, Nizam Kaur, Eskom, Ludwig, the Bulls loose trail just weren't they
Yeah,
weren't in it really, And yeah, look, Pepsi Chituka as well as captain, I think he also showed, in Pepsi,
yeah,
I liked his shithousery where he got under Gumede's skin, and after that he just kept on making mistakes, and even Jason Jenkins, yes, fine, he got that yellow card, but I think he was very important in the lineouts. And early on, even the top dog Mbonambi doing his thing, but obviously coming by the time that he was coming off, it was look,
that's why I also can't be too harsh about the scrums because Trev
yeah,
and Mbonambi went off.
true, true. I'll give them that. I'll give that grace. I'll give that grace, but it's still not satisfactory. For if you want to contend, if you want to win
Yeah,
championships. But the character, the attitude, and the ability to really put teams away. And also, I mean, I think even the ability to even go from deep. You see the
mm.
feat of Julie's, the class. What they say. What's the saying? Is it
Form is temporary,
form is
class is
very
permanent, eh?
classic. Yeah, I know. You saw that there. And even Pengle Hendricks, I think even on the kickoffs he was doing well. Receiving those
Yeah,
kickoffs, taking ownership of those, and I think it kind of seemed like the Bulls were looking at almost targeting him. In terms of those kickoffs, I think they must have seen something there where they could, possibly put him under pressure. But yeah, look, everybody there in that Sharks team, they can hold their heads up high. They look. You can't expect anything more than that. Especially away from home. And you look
yeah.
at the injuries that they've got. The guys that are arrested and things like that. So yeah, Bulls. Yes, they also have their injuries, but that's their problems. So so
Yeah,
so yeah, yeah,
Mavesere even said after the game, it's the same thing that you always say. We are the other guys. He talks
yeah.
about them closing the gap between when the Boks
Yes.
are there and when the Boks aren't there. He
Mm,
stepped up. Penkler,
Yeah.
I thought as well. I think he's been good in like he's had a run of matches. I know the fan base isn't big on him, but I thought he's been decent. I mean, I'm not expecting when he comes in, like I'm not expecting him to be Mapimpi. I'm not expecting
Yeah.
him to be, but I
True.
feel for him coming in, he's a decent URC player, and that's all that
Yeah.
you ask for in plugging that gap. Um, Sia Masuku, slow start to the season, but you look at this game and you look at the way that he played.
He
Grant Williams'
controlled it.
contestable kicks and his contestable kicks both
Yeah.
led to tries. Masuku,
Yeah.
the way he's just, they talked a lot about the way that he varied his game and the way that he
Yes.
varied his kicks and the way that I think he made the right decisions most of the time.
Yeah.
He's
Look.
not perfect. It wasn't the best performance, but I feel like it was a good performance. I
Yeah.
feel, yeah. So looking at this now, I don't think Hendrickson would have given you the same thing at 10. I feel like he's more comfortable at 15.
Yeah.
So are we back at the same place we were last season where we finally realizing that Masuku is the Sharks' best flower?
Yeah, look, for me, he is, yes, his form, like you said, slow start. Maybe some of his kicks were a bit irritating, especially when we're in the Bulls 22. I think the one that I
Yeah.
can think of, the short side on the left, where it's like, did he really need to do that? But you can understand his thinking, it's, you know, trying something different, but then, all around his general game management, look, you can't fault him there, and yes, for me, at the Sharks right now, he's the best 10 that they've got, out and out 10. Hendrickson, yes, we know he can play there, but yeah, Masugu, for me, you keep him at the wheel, keep him at the wheel. He can still do the job there, And you mentioned Penley. I think the frustration there with him is maybe his inconsistencies because, I think there's been maybe like, maybe that was maybe in the Champions Cup, in Europe, but
Yeah, he
where
made a
he
few
wasn't.
mistakes there, but
Yeah, but I think, look, he more than made up for it in this game. He's chasing effort, he's contesting in the air, like everybody was hungry there, and the guys were there and they were there to eat, they smelled blood in the water, and like a shark, you must be careful because you won't see it coming, and the Bulls got hit. They got hit.
yeah, great performance. Like Chituka as well for me, especially being captain. If we're looking from the
Yeah,
Bulls side, the Bulls, I believe the way I see it is the second half, they started, well, end of the first half, they got that scrum dominance going. Then they
mm,
realized the maul. So they took it more. We're going to dominate with our forward pack. We're going to do this. That's how they ended up milking those three yellow cards to put
yeah,
them in that position. But it's like once they got in that position, they just didn't release the ball to the backs. And for me, I mean, you've
yeah,
got guys that can play there. You've got your Moody's, you've got your Creels, you've got your Williams. So it was almost an overcorrection from what happened in the first half,
yeah,
where they tried to give it a go. They saw, no, we don't have the firepower here to match. So let's take it
yeah,
to the forwards. But then the ball
mm,
just got stuck up front. And I mean, three yellow cards, they're yellow cards, they're not points. At the end of the day,
mm,
it's about what's on the scoreboard. And like I
yeah.
said, maybe it's a leadership thing with Ludwig. Maybe it's, I don't know, a
But
motivation thing, like you say.
But the thing is, you can't say leadership because, I mean, you look at there's a lot of guys around him that are experienced enough, and there's the up and comers that are in the Bok mix as well.
Yeah.
You at home at Loftus, you would have expected better from a Bulls team, from an execution perspective. But look, they were really poor, and I think honestly, when they looked at the Sharks backline, they yes, as much as they tried, early on, but I think the Sharks backline just they just had a bit too much more than
Mm.
what the Bulls had on the day. From the feet of Julius. The one thing for sure, you'll get around you that guy. And he'll give you something. Ethan Hooker, that work rate as well. Even Hendricks. But again, it all starts with the forwards staying in the fight, and really being in there, and I think, like I mentioned, Pepsi's shithousery on Kubete. Just I love that, because they were amped, they really were
Yeah.
up for it, and I think. the stop-start affair of it, because there was it wasn't the same sort of flow and intensity that you saw with the Lions game, but whenever it was
Yeah.
on, the clocks were really, it was really on. When they turned it on, and you saw it there at the end with that Hendrickson try when he in the corner. It was just that, like you say, that transition play. It was just Bulls couldn't handle it, of those contestables, and yeah, look, it worked out for the Sharks. I'm happy. I won't complain.
So am I. I'm always here for Bulls loss. Bulls will have to console themselves with players being added to the lineman camp. Papier is the main one for me, someone that's
Mm.
out in the wilderness in in bog terms.
Been consistent for them though, eh?
Yeah,
He
he's
has
been
been.
very consistent. I mean, this call up could have come last season as well. It's just that how many scrum offs do we have?
Mm.
And the guys are all playing well. So yeah, just I think that's the only thing they can console themselves about this week is that,
And
guys
they,
being
and they mustn't talk
involved.
about and they mustn't talk about Vili being a makeshift fly off, what, because a few weeks ago he was the guy. Up until
Not a
now,
few weeks.
you
Last
know,
week he was the guy.
so now that there's it's a different picture. There's less time because the Sharks guys they were in their faces. They were just disrupting. The Bulls, and look, it wasn't working out. You saw even with that one kick where he kicked it directly out. From there,
Yeah,
even then when he did that, I was just like, no, we've got them. They're on the ropes. And and you see it in his facial expression. He wasn't having a nice time really for me.
yeah,
At 10, possibly they could have, see some comments saying maybe put him at 15, and put her at 10 at that time. But I don't think it was going to make a difference. The Bulls just they weren't in it this weekend. They really weren't. And,
yeah.
we here for it, look, they're still in the hunt, in terms of, the top 8 knockouts. But, yeah, look, I think we saw
They're not
we
winning
saw
anything. They're not
I
winning
think we saw
anything.
I think
You know,
yeah,
and for me, it's also when Hanukom is not there, you've
yeah.
literally it's a team with there's no real heart.
Mm.
It's like it's a fake heart. I don't know how it's there's your arm, then they cut off your arm, they give you a prosthetic arm. I don't know if they've got one for the heart, but that's what it's like
No.
when it's not a real it's the fire isn't there. And I feel like sometimes this team only goes as far as what Hanukom and sometimes Moody will take them.
Yes. Yeah. And in then, if you look at that, Hanukkah gives them that go forward. Then your Vili starts coming into the
Yeah,
game. He looks good, front football, more time, he can make those plays, be the playmaker. But there was none of that this weekend. There was
yeah,
none of that. And credit to the Sharks, because yeah, they showed that look, I mean, if you saw the running meters as well that they got, they and you could argue that, from using possession, for I won't say little possession that they had, but it didn't look like the Sharks were, on the picture, it didn't look like they were initially dominant, from a forward perspective, with that early try of the Bulls, but the way that they just hung in there, quarters, for me, that's what I wanted to see,
yeah.
is that character, you're against the wall, and you say, okay, look, but we're still coming away with points here, and look, thank you. Thank you. But we're still watching though.
Moving on to Lions versus Stormers.
Oh,
Going into this one, Lombard, another player. It's
yeah.
it's it's a week of chances, It seems like it's a week
Yes.
of giving guys chances. Lombard back in that number 10 role. I mean, we've seen Nohamba, we've seen Niku Stein there, we've seen Sam Francis there. They
Mm.
seem to be looking for someone to fill in that position. It's not as desperate as maybe the Bull situation, but Lombard coming back in there, and I think he did a good job. Stormers team, obviously the forwards look like they're kind of back in shape, but the back line is where again you've got Mattia playing, you've got Similani playing, you've got
Hey.
just then Angelo Davids is in, and then it's not a settled back line. It's not, and for me, that's kind of where the team lacked.
Yes. But at the same time, for me as well, is that these guys have. that they've been there before. They've played in big games. If you look to Plessis, Mattia, we've seen, that okay, he can play. He's not Lebok, but he can give you something. Davids as well, he can be threatening with ball in hand. I think
Yeah,
the Stormers, one of the things is that their failure to look after possession properly, I think because they had the bulk of it, I think that's what killed them. One of the things as well. And just the pack just didn't seem to get going up until they started making changes. And surprisingly, Dion Fury was quiet in this
yeah.
game. Almost, you could see, yes, he was trying to get in there, but the way that the Lions controlled their breakdown, their attacking breakdowns, especially, to get there and move that ball very quickly, and as anticipated that the fast start that the Lions got, I think that was just a bit too much for the
Yeah, and that's
Stormers.
that's one thing that we spoke about last week is that when you
Mm,
getting that, obviously the Stormers played last week. Lions had
mm,
an extended break. You can come back one of two ways. You can be sharp or you can be a bit sluggish, and the team that played last week is more sharp. But
yeah,
in this one, the Lions were sharp right from the beginning. Yes, they weathered the Stormers, early pressure, but once they
yeah,
managed to get out of their half that first time, then it's just Lions comfortably in control.
yeah,
Turnovers as well, vital, vital turnovers at vital
mm,
points, which stopped
yeah,
momentum of the Stormers. And the Stormers, like, I don't, it's professional rugby. So when it comes to motivation and that, you kind of feel like, everyone's professional, everyone's going to have motivation, but it just looked like there's nothing, there's no spirit there.
yeah.
There's nothing going on. And you look at the Lions, as sharp as they were, they looked more in it. They looked more intense. They looked more
Yeah.
just up for it in this
I
game.
mean, even in the coaches' box, they were intense as well. I think
Yeah,
you could see that they wanted it, as well. And you think, it's your job. You have to be in it. You know what I mean? And
and then
and
my
I'll
thing
say
is,
this. Sorry, quarters. I'll say this. One thing for sure, the Stormers captain will. One thing is guaranteed: that guy is going to offload the ball. You know what I mean? And sometimes you don't want to see that from your captain. You want your captain setting the
yeah,
tone to say, "Listen, we're going forward." You know what I mean?
yeah,
And it's those things that maybe it's part of their game plan, but look, it's those little things where you see where it's like, where's that heart, man? Where's that thing where the thing that we know they've got where they can play, and
yeah.
sometimes they try to overplay a bit, and yeah, if you defensively they got found out as well. I
Yeah,
feel
that's what I was
sorry
going to say.
for.
I mean, there is that aspect of it where you're talking about motivation and intensity, but then there's also the aspect of technically in defense, the
Mm,
Lions identified that, okay, in that wider channel, 13,
yeah,
14, that's where we're getting space, that's where we're getting joy. So if we can just get the ball there, then we'll be
yeah,
fine. And
yeah.
once they learned it, they're like, okay, then we'll just keep on doing it.
Keep
So
on
it
doing
happened
that,
for
and
Kieran Horn getting on the outside of Similani. I think he did it two or three times in the game.
yeah,
For Marius Lowe's try, it was Edwill. They got Edwill into space by himself. Then he was able
yeah,
to run through, beat the winger, meet the fullback. So they just kept on finding space in those wider channels. And it's
yeah.
like the Stormers didn't. So you've got a problem with your spirit and your motivation. You've got a problem technically where you can't solve those problems in defense. You've got a
Mm,
problem with personnel where for me, Mattia, before I'd watched him and I said, okay, this looks like a solid player. Now all of a sudden he's doing reverse passes through the legs,
yeah,
1 minute to go, you're down by 10 points. For me, now I'm starting to see that, okay, maybe they just don't have the quality of players that they need to compete, you know, when these other guys fall away. Because
yeah,
Sasha, big loss. Philipsa, big loss. Lubbock, big loss.
mm,
Ruanel as well, big loss.
yeah.
But come on, there Similani as well. It's disappointing for him because now you're looking at it like, okay, Jake White was right.
Yeah, yeah, it sort of makes it seem that way. I think he as
Yeah,
well,
and that's
he
what I
was
don't
trying.
like about it. That's what I don't like about
Yeah.
you have the opportunity now to
Mm.
to
And
get it
right
going, to
against
have a
one of
run.
your former teams, you know what I mean? Where
Yeah,
you can show to say, yeah, you should miss me. And hey, look, he couldn't look, he was trying, and I think maybe trying a bit too hard. I think that was one of the things as well. But look, it just wasn't working out for them. And also, it's for me, the Stormers pack, they couldn't live with the Lions intensity. The
yeah,
Lions pack, those guys are for it. You know, your to your who's that Fenta Horn, I think those guys they really were up for it, and Tlabaganya as well, just his work rate around the pitch, even who's this Oosthuizen as well, they
Yeah,
were the
Oosthuizen's
Lions
been a
had
big
more
addition.
presence.
Yeah,
Yeah, they had that presence on there, and also Landsberg. I think Landsberg for me is one of is really underrated. Especially his work in the lineouts that he does, and also even in the in general play as well. Yes, there's moments where it didn't quite work out for the Lions, but they certainly made up for it. Where they capitalized on it, and you mentioned Lombard for me, this is he took his chance, and you saw even they didn't even sub him because Dobela was on the bench, and all of a sudden Lombard is saying no, 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 I want to be the guy, and
yeah,
he stepped up, he showed it, he kicked his goals, and he got the team, moving. Look, if you're the Lions, you're looking at the team now, and you're thinking to yourself, okay, look, we can still play if we keep it together. They can roll over a number of teams, maybe not the Sharks, but uh, they can do the job. And credit
yeah,
to them with the little possession that they had. They did well. Q and Horn, what a player. Is one thing. That's another thing that's for sure. That guy will beat he always beat his first
yeah,
man. That he beat his first man. Defensive work as well. For me, it was a complete team performance by the Lions. You couldn't
yeah.
ask for more at home. You couldn't.
Yeah, Q and Horn, I was just like, hey, stop playing so well because this is when the Sharks now start coming and looking for you. So it's it's one of those where I was just, but again, it's that thing of the guys that are involved with the box. When they come
Yeah,
back, they just seem to be a level above. Mone van den Berg as well. He's
yeah, he was class
playing
for me.
he was playing class. Horn, Van Veek stepped up as well. Edwill, he took his chance,
Mm.
when he finally got his chance. So it's looking good, but the problem, we don't have depth. We don't have depth, but I mean, I'm in a happy place right now with the Lions. Until next week, then we'll see.
Yeah, yeah. Look, you got to be in a happy place, and I mean, right now, if you're the Lions, you're looking at the Bulls, and you're thinking to yourself, "Look, there's an opportunity this weekend that's coming. Where they can,
Yeah,
they can do a number on the Bulls as well. I think if they can repeat what they've done. Yes, it's going to be tough. I think it's away at Loftus. I think they can do a job, but it'll be a tough one definitely because the Bulls
yeah.
losing two in a row at home, maybe. Man, look, they haven't done so in a while, but after this past weekend, I think they're there for the taking. Honestly,
Then it's gonna be a
but
real crisis. I don't think it'll happen, but then it will be a real crisis for them.
no, I need to. I'm thinking about that one, and I think again, the pool's tears that are busy falling on us here in Gauteng. If they've subsided by Saturday or at least a bit
Yeah.
better, I think the Lions and their intensity, if they can match that, I think they'll do something this weekend. I really do. Maybe closer, but they'll do something.
Yeah, just one more thing for the Stormers. Dweber, he's been announced as someone that's departing. So again, losing even more personnel. That hooker
Yeah,
they have Kotza as well, so it's not going to be as
and Hugo
big a
Pence.
miss. Yeah, so but we'll see.
Yeah, but look, if you're the Stormers, you're definitely disappointed, because it's just at one moment they look like okay, they can get things back on track, and then it's just completely they just look like they're disintegrating, and it's just you don't know what it is that's keeping them, together. Even that 30-23 scoreline, I think that flatters them. Honestly
Yeah,
speaking, yes, I know I said, by five the Lions, but on the balance of it, you look at it, that scoreline definitely flatters the Stormers. The wasteful, and for some of the guys, they've got guys box, they've got guys that have been, they've put in performances for them, but it just, Evan Roos was kept quiet.
yeah.
He just didn't have the same impact. Like I mentioned, Dion Farid didn't have the same impact. Ben Jason Dixon as well. It was a horror show for
Yeah,
for
if
for the
you're
Stormers.
if you're if you're part of the Stormers fan base, you just got to look at that and think, what direction are we going in? Because
Yeah,
championship team to now the lowest of the low, that team it
mm,
just needs a rebuild totally. So
yeah,
I'm not,
yeah. Then
guys are still
yeah,
talking about qualification spots and that. I think the season's done for them. It's done. It's done. It's just about rebuilding now. I don't think,
yeah. It's hard to see, eh?
yeah, it's hard to see anything going forward for them.
Yeah, it really is. And as much as they've got the players, and I honestly thought, they're one of the teams that can, because of that thing of theirs of, let's they can play, when they turn it
But that's
on.
my
But if you
thing
don't
is
have
that
the
thing is now
pieces,
going in shorter and shorter bursts. Where
yeah,
before
yeah,
we'd see it for, yeah, in this game they're hot for a good 30 minutes, then it's 20 minutes, 10 minutes. Now we're seeing it in 5 minute patches of where these guys can
yeah,
play.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, they know they've got issues down there in the Cape, There's some serious problems. But hey, happy go Lions. That's all I can say.
Any closing remarks from you? Bulls hosting Lions next week. I mean this weekend. I think I'm not sure if that's the only game.
It is the only game. It is the only game for URC coming up. So look, happy go Lions. That's what I'm saying. Happy go Lions. The Lions, they're gonna do something. Quarters, they're gonna do something. I'm telling you, you're gonna see. You're gonna see.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Looking forward to it. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, we are.